Do the Democrats have the ability to not jump on everything that Trump says?
We're going to have to. And I've been beating the drum about this over and over, that if everything feels like a five-alarm fire, then in turn, nothing is going to feel like a five-alarm fire. And we don't have the same degree of energy to resist Donald Trump as was present in 2017. And so inherently within that, we have to figure out how to pick our battles. And I think that there is some understanding of that. The folks that I've talked to just in the few interviews that I've done since the election, whether it's Brian Schatz, whether it's Amy Klobuchar, a lot of these people are repeating the same points, that we have to figure out where to pick our battles. And that means that some things that are normally going to be considered disqualifying are going to happen anyway. Some people who would normally be disqualifying as nominees are going to get confirmed anyway. But the onus is on us to figure out where to pick our battles, which hills to die on, because we just don't have the energy and we don't have the numbers to raise a stink about everything. And so we have no choice but to figure out where to focus our energy.
In today's video, Brian Tyler Cohen absolutely destroys Chris Cuomo in a heated debate on the Democratic Party. Cuomo, who's been playing the both sides card lately, tries to argue that the Democrats are just as dysfunctional as Republicans, but Brian isn't having any of it. With a calm but cutting delivery, Brian breaks down exactly why false equivalency is dangerous, especially in a moment where democracy and basic rights are literally on the line. Brian brings the facts, Cuomo brings the vibes, and only one of them walks away with their credibility intact. So let's dive in and watch how Brian Tyler Cohen shuts down Chris Cuomo in the heated debate.
And by the way, that's what I view my job within the broader messaging apparatus of the party as being, is figuring out how to make sure that Democrats aren't waking up every single day and going healthcare, abortion, gun safety, climate change, and when we're just kind of throwing messaging left and right, really nothing sticks at the end of the day. To their credit, Republicans have been really effective over the last decade, it feels like, where I can only presume that they wake up and go into the morning meeting and figure out what they're going to talk about that day. And this way, everybody's coordinated. This way, everybody's organized. And so starting at 5 a.m. with Fox and Friends, all the way to Judge Janine and Laura Ingraham and Sean Hannity at night, they're saying the exact same thing. And so, of course, this messaging gets seared into the brains of their supporters, whether they're watching on Fox or OAN or Newsmax or Rumble.
They picked the right set of 60-40s. So in politics, there's a practice called the 60-40, which is certain issues break 60-40. Like what? Allowing kids any kind of control over anything medical, let alone trans surgery. It just 60-40. Parents are like, no, that's crazy. And Democrats will then argue the nuance and what it's really about, but it doesn't matter. The argument's over. This is why they hit the trans on that and on the trans community's participation in sports. It's a 60-40 split. Nobody wants even the idea, even if it never really happens, just the idea has a 60-40 split to it. And they poached on all of those issues. And you're talking climate change, gun safety. These are all on the 40 side of propositions. Climate change, well, what does it mean? Because it seems to mean a limitation of something I want right now, which is going to put me on the 60 side. Like, for instance, EVs. Mandating EVs. How does Elon Musk wind up with Trump when he stands the most to lose from how Trump feels about EVs? Because he knows that he's on the 40 side of the 60-40 split, Elon, and that you got to have every kind of fuel source being tapped instead of saying you have to use just one. That's what the Democrats have to get better at, seeing where the majority is on things and not seeming like you're against the majority.
Brian argues that Democrats do need to be selective, but not by watering down their core principles. It's not about abandoning climate change, gun safety, or reproductive rights because Republicans have made those topics politically risky. It's about tightening the message and building clear, consistent narratives that resonate. And let's be real, the idea that Democrats are always on the 40 side of the 60-40 split is just not true. Take gun safety. Over 80% of Americans support universal background checks. On abortion rights, a strong majority favors access to safe and legal abortions. Even on climate action, most Americans support investment in renewable energy. So when Chris says Democrats are on the wrong side of the numbers, Brian could have easily pointed out that Republicans are the ones blocking broadly popular policies and using culture war distractions to cover it up. The issue isn't that Democrats care about the wrong things, it's that they need to package those values in a way that cuts through the noise. That's where Brian's take hits hardest. It's not about conceding to the right's farming, it's about having the discipline to focus, coordinate, and push back with clear, confident messaging. That's how you win hearts and elections.
Yes, and because for a lot of Democratic issues, they're already on those sides of the issues, and that's why when they're present as standalone issues on ballots, like at ballot measures or ballot initiatives, like overturning right to work or abortion or legalizing marijuana. These are Democratic positions that far exceed the performance of Democrats themselves on these ballots. I think what Democrats have to get better at is not just embracing the 60 side of these 60-40 issues, but also figuring out how to message them in a way that people actually know that the issues that you support are also going to be enacted by the party that you don't support.
Right.
And so, a big part of that, by the way, is the asymmetry in the media ecosystem. The left, the Democratic Party for so long has relied on legacy media as our message distribution system, and they're not. In fact, legacy media, mainstream media bends over backwards to prove that it's not liberal media. How many times did the New York Times run front page cover stories on Hillary's emails? They are not on our team. The same way that Fox is on the Republican Party's team, that OAN and Newsmax are on their team, that InfoWars and Megyn Kelly's show and Daily Wire, they are on the Republican Party's team.
Digital media is overweighted to the right. I would argue legacy media went after Trump in a way that, did as much favor for Biden as anything did. But I appreciate your point. I think you're right on the digital side specifically. And that's why one of the reasons I love you, by the way, and my father would have loved you. I don't know where Andrew is on you, but my father, I can't tell you how many Democrats in your generation talk to me about your party like I don't understand it. Like I don't know what it is to be like, which I find so offensive that I don't even address it because I don't know how to address it without being physical. So, but my father.
Are you suggesting that the Cuomos don't have any legacy with?
We don't have any. We don't have any DAP anymore. It turns out as Democrats, which is kind of weird. But except at the convention where they kept showing clips of my father, the who and the how of the messaging, I want to talk about a little bit. The Maddow effect. I always called Rachel the professor when I went against her at CNN. So smart, such a high level of erudition and research. She could talk about whatever she wanted at night that was totally not on the news, and it would still work with that audience because they just wanted her take on things that were appreciated by existing Democratic beliefs.
Now, Brian points out something super important. When you strip the party labels away, Democratic policies consistently win, whether it's abortion rights, minimum wage increases, or marijuana legalization. These ideas pass by wide margins in red and blue states alike. So the issue isn't the platform, it's the packaging. Democrats are letting Republicans define the conversation while relying on a media ecosystem that bends over backwards to appear neutral. Cuomo tries to push back a bit by defending legacy media and suggesting they hammered Trump, which sure, to a degree. But Brian's counter is key. Fox News, Newsmax, and the entire right-wing digital machine act like an unpaid PR team for Republicans, while Democrats don't have anything remotely equivalent. Legacy media still obsesses over both sides, even when one side is blatantly trying to undermine democracy. Just look how much airtime Hillary's emails got versus actual policy discussions, or how little coverage ballot measure wins like abortion protections in Kansas or Ohio received compared to Trump's every tweet.
And that's also why she was losing audience to me and to Fox was because the mistake of the smart Democrat, and there is a high degree of intelligence on the Democratic side. Now, a lot of it has been co-opted by, in my opinion, culture wars. But
Yeah.
the condescension, the arrogance, the you're an idiot, so let me see if I can bring you along to where I am because I'm much smarter than you, was a huge problem for Democrats that Trump wound up benefiting from because of how bad his language is and how rough around the edges he is and unsophisticated. And it made people feel better about being against this level of sophistication. You, conversely, get that. And you are not Rachel Maddow. You are smart. You are well-researched with what you do, but you do not make me feel bad about it. You do not talk down to me. And I think that that is a fundamental thing that you guys have to learn. And I think Kamala read really condescending to people. And Americans may not be the most studied, but they're really sensitive to being stupid.
Yeah.
And that's a tough spot. Do you recognize that within your own persuasion?
Yes, I mean it's clearly like an issue, a very visible issue within the Democratic Party, like on the left, is that there is a degree of even for me as a content creator, if I step one step left to center and say something incorrect or even misquote something or whatever it is, I mean I'll get completely beat up. Democrats love to lecture other Democrats. Democrats love to scold, and I think that's something that we have to get over as a party because, you know, to your point, I mean, you catch more flies with honey, right? And I think that we have to recognize just basic sociology, just basic how to reach out to people, how to make people feel like they want to be part of your coalition. And you know, look, I'm guilty of it too, because I think that most of the stuff that falls out of Donald Trump's face makes him sound really fucking stupid. And it's hard not to just say, this guy's really fucking stupid. And that the people who support him, therefore, are stupid. But I think that that's something that we have to figure out how not to do. And in fact, the thing that I've been focused on over the last couple of years is not to blame people who believe Fox News when they lie on Trump's behalf, for example. It's to appeal to them in such a way that says, like, look, these people are lying to you. Have more respect for yourself than to trust people like this who are going to lie right to your face. I mean, I often say in my videos that it feels like the Republicans' biggest enemies are the Democrats, but in fact, the people that Republicans have the most contempt for are their own supporters, that they're willing to lie to them for years and years and years about certain issues that have no basis in reality. I mean, this idea that the 2020 election was stolen, first of all, there was no basis for it for the last 4 years. They didn't win a single lawsuit that proved any semblance of fraud. But then the fact that okay, let's humor this idea, and let's say that Democrats did have the ability to rig an election. Did they just forget to do it in 2024? And I mean, they completely let go when Trump won. And so this thing vanished like a fart in a hurricane after Republicans were beating the drum about this for years and years and years. So I would ask their supporters, either do you recognize that you were lied to over these last 4 years when Republicans manipulated you, when the Republican Party manipulated you into thinking that there was fraud as a way to either curry favor for themselves, present themselves as the victim, be able to enact voter suppression laws, whatever it was. This was just a vehicle to get people to buy into something that was completely bogus. And so that's just some microcosm of a broader problem. But I think the way to go about doing this is to not show any disdain for the people who supported Trump, because I think, you know, in large part, people only know what they know. And if they watch right-wing media, for example, which often operates as a hermetically sealed bubble of information, they're not going to get the whole story. And so you can't blame these people for only knowing what they know or not knowing what they don't know.
Now, Chris is right to point out that a lot of Americans, even ones who may not follow every political twist and turn, still pick up on tone. If they feel like Democrats are lecturing them or like they're being called dumb for not knowing something, they're going to tune out. no matter how factually correct the message is. That's how someone like Trump, who speaks in plain and often crude terms, can come off as relatable, even while lying consistently. Brian totally owns up to this dynamic, and his approach is a model for how to push back against disinformation without turning it into a blame game. Instead of saying, "You're dumb for believing that," he reframes it, "These people lied to you. Don't let them treat you like you're dumb. That's smart." It builds a bridge instead of burning one. And he's also right about the broader structural problem. Democrats often cannibalize their own by nitpicking every tiny misstep instead of focusing outward. Meanwhile, Republicans stay relentlessly on message, even when the message is total nonsense. The 2020 stolen election lie is a perfect example. Despite it being completely debunked in court and by Trump's own DOJ, it still fueled years of GOP fundraising and voter suppression laws. That's not just misinformation, that's strategy. But that doesn't mean Democrats should lie or just speak total nonsense. Pause. Are you getting tired of getting half the story from biased news sources? One outlet says one thing and another says the complete opposite. How are you supposed to know what's actually true? That's where ground news comes in. It lets you compare how different media outlets, left, right, and center, are covering the same story. So you can see the full picture instead of just the echo chamber. And here's the best part. Click the link in the description and get 40% off the Vantage tier, which gives you even deeper insights into media bias and political trends. Stay informed, think for yourself, and check out Ground News in the description down below.